Dean with DIY Sweets. Today I'm going to show you how to make a flag with cupcakes. The flavor of cake we're going to make today is a lime cake. It is so great for summer because it's just got that fresh lime flavor. Let me show you how I start with doing my flag cupcakes. The first thing I need to do is decide just how many of each color I need for my cupcakes. Because remember, the flag is red, white, and blue. I do that by laying out our cupcake liners. As you'll notice, it already looks like a flag. I like to color code the liners to go with the color the frosting is going to be on top. It just makes it easier for me. With this flag, I'm using mini cupcakes. That way, I'm not making so much batter. Everyone will probably have 2 or 3 cupcakes because that'll be about the equivalent of 1 regular cupcake. So now that I have this laid out, I need to look and see, and I see I need 12 blue cupcakes. Then I have 8 here and 8 here, which is 16. And then this is 12 and 12, so 24 and 16 is 40 cupcakes that are red. And then I have 24 and 8, which is 32 cupcakes that are white. Now that I've figured this out, and I really don't have to do the math as far as adding up how many total, but I know each row is 12, so I know this is going to be 7 dozen cupcakes. Now for me, the easiest thing to do, once I have this laid out, is just to take my cupcake pan and start sticking the liners in the pan. And I'm one that actually likes to try to put together, for the sake of decorating, all the same colors. So in this pan, I'm going to go to that next row of red and add the rest of the red. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my other pan, because my oven can hold 2 pans of cupcakes at the same time. So I want to get 2 pans ready, and then when these 2 are done, I will go ahead and get the next pan ready. So there's all my reds, and I'm just going to start sticking my whites in. Now my cupcake pans are ready for the cupcake batter. I already have the oven preheating, so now we're ready to make the batter. Let's see how that's done. The first thing I need to do is I'm going to just beat up my eggs just slightly with the whisk. And I'm using a fairly small bowl for this. It's going to be big enough to hold the bits I need to add to this, but I don't need it much bigger. Now that those eggs are beat up, I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of my buttermilk. And my zest. Now I'm just going to mix that up. And now that's ready to go into the cake batter. Into our mixing bowl, we're going to add our flour, our baking powder, baking soda, and salt, and our sugar. Now we want to mix this just until it's mixed on a very low speed. So So I just barely turn this on, just enough to mix the sugar and the flour and the baking soda, baking powder, and salt together. Okay, now that that's all mixed in, I'm going to add the rest of that milk that I did not put in the eggs. And I'm going to add my butter. Now everything has been brought to room temperature. That's important to do. Okay, now we're going to just mix this on low again until it's mixed in. As soon as I see that it's all mixed in, I'm going to turn it up to a medium speed, and I'm going to mix it for about 1.5 minutes. Now you see it's pretty much all incorporated. So I'm going to bring that up to medium speed and mix it for 1.5 minutes. Alright, that has mixed for about 1.5 minutes. Now I'm going to lift this up, and I want to scrape this down really well. That mixing has helped to build up the gluten just enough for our cake. Now we're going to add our egg mixture in 3 additions. And after each addition, I want to mix it for about 20 seconds. So I'm going to put that down. Because I don't want it to spill out, I'm going to put my cover on. Take my egg mixture, and I'm just going to quickly do one more quick mix with it. Make sure it's still well blended. And then I want to add about 1/3 of this to the batter. Then I'm going to start this on a low speed until I see the liquid is mixed in. Then I speed it up to medium, and I take it for about 20 seconds. After about 20 seconds, I add about half of what's left and let it go for another 20 seconds. At the end of that 20 seconds, I'm going to add the rest and let that go for about 20 seconds. Turn that off now, lower this back down, raise this back up, take our scraper and scrape this down. And we have one more ingredient we need to add, and that's the juice. This cake recipe didn't have any vanilla because it's being flavored by the juice. I want to just mix this enough to incorporate that juice into the batter. So I don't want it on a real high speed, just doing it on a low speed. And I'm looking. When I see that it looks like it's all incorporated in, I'm ready to stop. And there's our cupcake batter. We're ready now to put the batter into the cupcake tins. At my other house in Utah, where I do most of my baking because I spend most of my time, I have some ice cream scoops that are just the right size. Here in New York, I don't have all those ice cream scoops. What I am going to use though to try to make this equal amounts is I'm going to use a measuring spoon. These are very small, so I'm going to try first and see what a half of a tablespoon looks like. If that looks about right, then I will continue scooping with that. If it looks like it's not enough, I will switch it out and see what a full tablespoon looks like. But each cupcake is not going to take very much batter. So let's look and see what we need. So I just take a scoop and I stick it in the batter. So I'm going to keep filling up these cupcake tins. When they're all filled up, we'll be ready to put them in the oven. These are now ready to put in the oven. Because these are mini cupcakes, they only need to cook about 12 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the oven and cook them for about 12 minutes. You'll notice my rack is in the middle position. I'm just going to stick both of my pans on this middle rack. And then I'm going to set my timer for 12 minutes. We'll be back when these ones are done to show you what we do. Our timer just went off. So we're going to open this up. And before we pull this out, we're just going to poke a couple and see if they're done. As you notice, a little bit of crumbs on that one, but they're not liquidy. So we're ready to take these out. We're going to bring our cupcakes over here and we're going to quickly dump them out. Now I didn't want these cupcakes to be really high. I wanted them to come about to the top of the cupcake tin and the cupcake liner, and that's what most of them did. Because I want this to be kind of a flat, smooth, flat. That's going to have some height because the frosting will have some height. But we don't want it to have a lot. Although I am looking at a few of these, and I can see a few of them probably could have used a little bit more batter. And what that probably means is when I decorate, I will add just a tiny bit more frosting so it becomes level with the others. With those set aside to cool, we're now going to take our muffin tins that we just took out of the oven, clean off anything that's on them, and then we're going to put the other cupcake liners into these. This one's going to be filled with most of our white ones. We had a few in the last batch. The rest will be in this batch. And I do want these to cool down as much as possible before I put the batter in. So I want to completely load up both the pans with the liners, and then I'll be ready to put the batter in. And as I fill this, it's already cooled down to liquid. Doesn't take long. Now with this one, once I put 12 in, I'm going to have enough to do the flag. But since I have plenty of batter, I am going ahead and I am filling up this pan with a little bit of each of the others so that I can pick and choose the best ones. So because I only have a dozen of the blue, I only picked 2 extra blues in case I have any blues that have problems. And then I did 5 extra whites and 5 extra reds. This way, in the end, some of those that may not be filled enough, I might not have to use, because some of these extras I can use instead. Okay, with those in, I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I scoop and put my batter into the pans. And seeing how these raised, I'm going to put these a little bit more on the fuller side so that hopefully I won't have any that are not high enough. That way I can exchange those few that are not high enough. We're ready to put these in the oven now and cook them for that same 12 minutes. I'll be back when all of these have cooked and they've all cooled and we're ready to start making the frosting and decorate. The cupcakes are now cool and we're ready to make the frosting. In our bowl, we want to put our butter, our cream cheese, and our shortening. Now you may be thinking, why is she putting shortening? Shortening makes buttercream not taste as good. Because of the cream cheese and the amount of butter that we are putting in there, it's still going to taste very much like buttercream. What the shortening does is in this hot, humid weather, or even hot, dry weather, it stabilizes the frosting so that it does not become soft and gooey. I mean, it still will if it gets direct sunlight, but it helps stabilize it so that it can withstand higher temperatures. Always with buttercream, you do not want to keep it in direct sun. You want to keep it out of the direct sun rays, but it can take higher heats if it has the shortening in there. So that's why we add the shortening. So I have my fats in there, and I'm also going to add my salt. I then want to cream this till it's all mixed in very well. As you look at this, you can't tell what's shortening, what's cream cheese, and what's butter, because it's all blended together. And it didn't really take that long because I brought everything to room temperature. I just want to scrape this down. And I'm going to add my powdered sugar. I have here 2 pounds of powdered sugar. I'm going to start by adding about half of it. Now, powdered sugar can really make a mess because it just puts up a bunch of powder. So I want to start this on the very lowest setting. And I don't want to get it going any faster until I see all of the powdered sugar is basically incorporated into the fat. I then want to get what powdered sugar is left on the side, scrape down, and see if we can get the rest of this powdered sugar in there. I didn't want to add it all up first because that would have been too much and we would have had more of a cloud. Again, I want to turn this on the very lowest until that's incorporated. Now that it's starting to get incorporated, I'm going to turn it up to medium. And I want to whip this so that it becomes very creamy. And the more I whip it, the more it's going to look kind of white. It's going to help that butter whip up and bring more of the white color to it. Now I do want to stop it for a minute so I can get everything scraped down. Now as you're making your buttercream, you have to decide if this is too thick or not, because if it's too thick, you can add some milk to it. The last thing we want to do is we want to add our vanilla. And just like when we've added everything else, we want to start it on the low speed so that can get in, and then whip it up. And there we have our cream cheese buttercream. And this recipe is actually a crusting recipe, so you could do all sorts of decorations with it. It also tastes really good. Now our trick here is we need 3 colors of icing. I don't know yet whether or not this one batch is going to be enough for all of the cupcakes. So I'm going to start with the white. So I'm going to put I want to divide this frosting out. So I'm going to put 2 scoops in the, what's the white. The red needs a little bit more than the white, so I want to get 3 scoops in there. These aren't very big scoops. Let me get another one. And then I don't really need all that much blue, because I only have 12 cupcakes that are blue. So I'm going to put that in the smaller bowl. Now I have a little bit left here. After I do the white, I will know whether or not I'm going to need to make more frosting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I put a hole in this bag, and I'm going to use this tip. This is a 2A tip. Then I'm just going to put that tip down in my bag. Then I'm going to turn my bag like this. Unfortunately here, I don't have the big tall cups like I have at home in my Utah home. So I'm going to start. I'm going to use this mug. It's the biggest one I have. The reason I like to use a container to put the bag in is it makes it so much easier to get the icing in there. And I just want to push that down. And I only want my bag to be about 1/2 to 3/4 the way full. Okay, once I have it in there, I'm just going to push this down, and then I like to just twist it and squeeze till it starts coming out. Now we're ready to decorate our cupcakes. I've divided up the cupcakes into the colors. So I'm going to do the white ones first, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a swirl. So I just go around and stop. And for me, it's actually easier to hold the cupcake as I do it. So I go around and stop. Because these cupcakes are not very big. And so if I don't hold them, they have a tendency to move. You notice I'm not making a very high swirl. You could if you wanted to, but I don't want a really high swirl because I like buttercream frosting, but I don't like a lot of it, so I usually make a much smaller swirl. So I'm going to frost the rest of these white cupcakes, and then we'll switch to the next color. Now this cupcake, if you noticed when I picked it up, that paper was starting to come away from there, so I just made sure the frosting caught the paper. I'm getting close to the bottom of this. I'm hoping I can get those last 3 out of this, because if I can, that means I probably have guessed pretty close on our cupcakes. There's our white. Now for me, because this is a disposable bag, I want to just take the tip out and throw this bag away, and then start with the new bag for the other color. We're ready now to make the blue. And I do want this to be as dark as I can get it. So I put quite a bit of food coloring in there. And then I'm just going to mix it till it's completely mixed. And this probably will not get the color blue that I really like it, because I don't think in this gel paste it's going to get that dark. I think it's going to be a lighter blue, but it's the representation we're trying to get. Okay, that's probably about as dark as it's going to get, but I'm going to add a little bit more to see if I can darken it just a tiny bit. And it will darken as it sits on the cupcakes. Now I'm going to take another piping bag, and I'm going to cut it like I did the last one. Stick my tip in. And then fold this down. Now this time I only need to do 12. So we'll see. I'm hoping this is enough, because it's really hard to perfectly match the color if this isn't. But 12 is not really that many cupcakes. All right, now we're going to take this, push it down, and then twist it. And as soon as it starts coming out, we are ready to start. So here's my blue cupcakes, and I'm going to do that same thing, like swirl around, and that's it. Swirl around. Just keep doing this till I have all 12 of them done. We have one more color left, and that's the color red. So let's go ahead and we're going to go through that again. The same step of getting the tip out of the bag, getting a new bag, cleaning the tip, mixing it up, and then decorating the red. So you go ahead and do yours, I'll do mine, and then we'll get back together and show you how to put the flag together. We have the cupcakes all frosted, and we're now ready to put our flag together. We have our board here that we're going to build our flag on, and then we have our cupcakes. So what I want to do first is I want to do my 4 blue, that's my first line. And then I want to do my 8 red. Now that I see how big this flag's going to be, I want to kind of come and make it more centered. So this is the center one, so I want half to be there on that side, and half to be on this side. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have enough room this way. So I'm going to go ahead and build these rows down to make sure I have enough room and it's centered on my board. So as you can see, that is the general size of my cupcake. So as I look at my board, it looks like I want this number 4 to be kind of at the halfway point. And then move everything up to there. Now I'm just eyeballing it. If you wanted to, you could measure exactly and put marks. And as I put these other rows in, I'll be able to tell more if I need to move any around. So I'm going to move these ones off for now, because what I want to do is I want to get this blue part done. so that I can put the stars on it. And then I'll build up from there. So there's my blue section. Now these stars that I found obviously are red, white, and blue. I only want white stars on my flag. But the store that I went to didn't have just the white stars. So I'm going to need to pick them out. And I'm probably not going to have 50 stars on there. But I am going to try to put them so it's like 4 stars lined up on each cupcake. So I want them spaced apart. So if I have 12 cupcakes and 4 stars on there, I'm actually going to have 48. Let me get a few more white ones out. And you'll notice on this blue one, I am flattening that little point because I don't want it to distract from the stars. One reason I like to start from the top and work my way down. That way if I have problems, I can move the stuff out that is a problem and then move it back. So I have 16 stars right there. Let's get my other row up there. I'm just going to go ahead and flatten those. If you want, you could actually flatten them on all of them, all the way along like this. You don't want that point. And it still looks fine. I'm going to get me out some more stars. Now if you're able to actually find all white stars, go ahead and get them. If you want to use a plunge cutter that's a star, you can cut them out that way, that's fine too. I just chose this time to do it this way because I figured it would save me time and I wouldn't have to worry about having the fondant. Let's see how far those stars go. Let's see if we need to get some more. Again, we're putting 4 on each cupcake. So we're going to have a total of 48. And if you want to, somewhere on some of the cupcakes, put 2 more stars. So that you have all 50, that's fine. But to me, I just want it to look uniform. So I'm going to stick with the 48. Because I don't even have the 13 stripes. That would have been much too big of a cake. So I stuck with doing it kind of in proportion to how it looks. And we're giving the illusion of flag. And it's not really meant to be exact. Now the blue part is actually the hardest part because we have to put the stars on it. On all the other parts, we're just lining up the rows and it's not as hard. This is the part that is the most time consuming, is putting the stars on it. There we have our blue section all done. So I'm not going to need this anymore. Now I just need to line up my other rows. So I have 3 rows of 8. And you do want to make sure these are lined up. And if you need to space one row because the other cupcake happens to be bigger, then you can do that. And as I'm looking at it, it's looking like I'm just a little bit. Now I'm ready to do my next row of red. Now we're ready to do our next row of white. Now this row is actually going to have 12 right because it's going underneath the blue. And I do want these rows to be perfectly matched up. So all of these, not only are they in a row this way, but they're also in a row straight up and down this way. So if you start noticing that they're not quite in a row, then you're going to want to adjust them. We're ready for our next row of red. For me, one of the important things was, when you look at the flag, the top stripe is always red and the bottom stripe is always red. So instead of worrying about getting 13 rows, I thought it was important to make sure I had the top row red and the bottom row red. That way it looks like the flag, even though it doesn't have the 13 rows. Alright, now that I have them all there, I'm just going to look at it from above and see if I need to do any adjustments. That actually looks pretty good. So this is Nadine with DIY Sweets. And here is our flag display with cupcakes. Yummy lime cake, delicious cream cheese frosting. No one will be able to eat just one. Go ahead and try this for your 4th of July. Happy baking and enjoy.